Hi guys, I am Kateri. I am the VP of Membership and NUMA Network at um, Northeastern for NUMA. And I am sorry, there's so many people trying to enter. I can't believe I set up the entry thing. Okay, and I am a fourth year. Gonna finish up my undergrad in the spring and then join the +1 master's program for international management. So I'm currently on my second co-op. I did my first one at BCG and my second one right now is at MFS. So that's a little background about me.
And hi, everyone. I'm Nick. I am a fourth year. I'm the chair of membership analytics for NUMA. I did my first co-op at Wayfair, and I'm currently co-oping at a startup called Salsify that is based in Boston.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Ada. I'm the NUMA network chair. I currently co-op at Northeastern. It's not that interesting, don't come. I'm a third year communications major, and yeah, thank you all for being here.
So, sorry if I keep pausing. I'm just trying to admit people into this session, but we're going to start off. So we are going to basically briefly overview a bunch of information, tips, tricks that we have, but we're also going to be doing like a little bit of a panel at the end. So you can ask us some questions. I know I've been, for people that have just joined, I've worked at BCG and I'm currently at MFS, and Nick is at Salsify right now, and I think did his first one at Wayfair, correct? So some kind of bigger companies that people seem to be interested in. They take a lot of co-ops, so we have a lot of information for you guys specific to that as well if you have questions. So first, there we go. So our first thing we want to look at is what co-op should I apply to? And I don't know if your advisors tell you this or not, but honestly, like I applied to anything that interests me. I think my first and even more so my second, I applied to probably like 30 or 40 co-ops. There's no maximum of ones that you can apply to. Obviously, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. It is nice that the interviews come in on like a rolling basis. So, you know, you have a chance to explore all the different companies on a different timeline. But, you know, basically just read the description of the co-op, focus on the skills that you're going to obtain, maybe the skills that are required. But honestly, I wouldn't even focus too much on, I mean, if they say they want a second time co-op, yes, obviously you might want to get your first co-op done before applying for it. But even my first co-op was a second and third time co-op before that. So, you know, everything that, as long as you're eager to learn, they're basically willing to take you and they can teach you kind of most of what you need to know while you're on co-op. So that's a really exciting thing. And also just I would say accept any interview that you have, unless you've already accepted a co-op, because at the very least, it's good practice to apply for co-ops, get the interview. And even if it's a role that you're not super interested in or don't think you want, it's great practice. And you might be surprised by how much you find out about the role and actually want to take it. So then next we have a little bit about NU Works, and I'm pretty sure our co-op advisors that came in last week for the regular NUMA meeting went over this a lot, but kind of just looking out for the deadlines of applications. So you meet those. If there's a co-op you really want, you don't want to miss the deadline. And also when you're searching, you know, search those buzzwords, kind of marketing or a certain company or something like that, that can kind of, rather than just scrolling through all the different co-ops, which is a good technique, but there's also so many, so it can get overwhelming. And also always check to see if in the description of the co-op you have to apply through NU Works, but they most of the time have you apply through their site as well. I know for BCG and MFS, I had to apply on their external site as well. So you don't want to miss that. You want them to be able to get your application in both places if that's what they ask you to do. But yeah, that's basically it. We have a little more on this slide, but if you have any questions, you can ask after. And then cover letters. I recommend that you always write a cover letter if they ask for it. Obviously write it if they ask for it, but I've even taken the time to write it even if they didn't ask for it, and kind of just reach out to whoever the HR person is or hiring manager or whatever, and kind of, get yourself in there, especially if it's a role you really want. The cover letter is going to be really important for them to get to know you a little bit better, and could even give you a leg up on if they give you an interview or not, because sometimes co-ops, they have 40 applicants and they only have time to interview like 3 people. So a cover letter kind of shows that you're going the extra mile, you're trying to get to know them a little more, and you're really interested in the role. Again, like, show interest in the company in your cover letter, maybe ways you could be useful to them, or you want to explore their company, and describe yourself a little bit, put a little personality in there. I think that helps them get to know you really well. So these are just a few examples. We're going to record this and put it on our site so you can look these over again. But I wrote this cover letter for BCG, which was when I was pretty young, so I'd probably revamp it a little bit, but it still worked. And then this one for an internship that I got at a company called LogRocket. I didn't end up taking it, but it kind of shows my progression. I write about BCG because it was after I had already accepted or already finished the BCG co-op. So yeah, just little examples for you. And they're not very long, so it's not much effort, but looks like you're going the extra mile. I think I'm handing this over to Nick now.
Yeah, so I'll take over for the next couple slides. So I just wanted to go over kind of the types of interviews that you guys could come across when you're like going on your co-op hunt. So the first thing you'll usually see after you apply to a company, you usually get an email back if they're interested. And then not every company does this, but most will do some sort of phone screening. So this will just be like where they call you up. They'll usually let you know like a preset time. You just like answer your phone. They'll have like a very high level conversation. So, this isn't like when you need to like start doing like a lot of research about the company. It's more just kind of going over your background, maybe show like a baseline of interest in the company. And this is more to get like to build an impression, so then they can make a determination if they actually want to have a full interview with you. And so the next step is usually a behavioral based interview. And this is like what everyone thinks of when you think of an interview. So you're going to go in, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions, you're going to answer them, and then you're going to ask them a bunch of questions. And this is when you're really going to be able to make yourself stand out. So make sure you have a lot of examples in your back of your mind, just for like any specific questions that they could ask you, like a time that you showed like leadership or anything along those lines. Just make sure you have a lot of examples ready to go. You can also like prepare some notes and kind of reference those during the Q&A session, just to make sure that you're on top of everything. And
Oh, sorry. I'm going to hop in really quick on the notes aspect. It's better to over prepare and have like 15 questions rather than run out of things to talk about, because you never know. I mean, some of the best interviews are when it's super conversational and you end up even talking about like their personal life, not even the job you're interviewing for. But that doesn't always happen, and you talk to someone pretty dry and you need to come up with things to ask them. And they might even give you one word answer. So you could blow through those questions super fast. But yeah, that's just a little elaboration on that.
Yeah, so after you answer all of their questions, you're going to ask them questions, and this is the time to really show your interest in the company. So I usually recommend having at least 10 questions prepared for every person you talk to on that day. And I actually interviewed a few candidates that's also by my current company for a co-op role, and it was a big red flag for me whenever they didn't fill up the time. So with like questions, like if they had to end the interview early because they didn't have anything else to say. So make sure you have a lot of stuff prepared, and just make sure that the questions are tailored to the company specifically, maybe even to the person you're talking to specifically if you do some research beforehand. And the last type of interview, or like the last one that I've come across so far, is a case-based interview. And this is where you answer some sort of question that they'll ask you that's usually relevant to the job to show your problem-solving ability. And it's usually not even about getting to like the right answer necessarily. It's more about your thought process. So when you're trying to answer these questions, just say all your thoughts out loud, kind of like let the interviewer know where your mind is at, and it'll show them your thought process and help them make an assessment if you're like a good fit. And you can also feel free to ask more questions to the interviewer during this process to obtain more information, and sometimes it's actually necessary. And this is mostly used for consulting positions. But when I applied to Wayfair, this half of the interview that I did was actually a case-based interview, which kind of caught me off guard. So if anyone's interested in applying to Wayfair, make sure to note that there will be some sort of case-based question, at least for the marketing role that I applied to. And just some like general prep for the dress code, just always assume business professional. So like suit, tie, or like, yeah, just anything like that. More formal clothing, unless you're specifically told otherwise. So both companies I've worked at actually told me just business casual. So that's where like a dress shirt and pants, and that worked fine. But just in general, if there's not a lot of clarity, I would just say go business professional. And I would also print out a hard copy of a document, like I said before, of like some sort of notes, and then also whatever questions you have for the interviewer. And this will also allow you to take scratch notes while you're during the interview, so that you'll be able to reference them afterwards. Like I said, have a pen and paper ready, and make sure to reach out to your point of contact if you have any questions about the interview process. So this would be like the person who helped schedule your interview in the first place, and they're a great resource. So I just included a interview prep doc that I put together for one of the companies I applied to. And as you can see, I got just some like basic points I want to hit. So like, why do I want to work here? Why do I want this position specifically? And then potential questions. And this is for one person. So as you can see, I have some general questions that I kind of asked to most people. I asked a few of them to each person I interviewed with. And then I also have some specific questions that I got mostly by researching like the person that I was specifically talking to on LinkedIn, just to learn more about their past experience. Like you could end up finding out that you have something in common with them, which is a great thing to bring up during the interview, and it can really help you make you stand out. So I definitely recommend doing some thorough prep like this. And as you can see, I also in my interview prep doc, I also just included an overview of the company and the role from NU Works, just to be able to reference it anytime. And during the interview, just make sure to take some notes about the kind of stuff that you and the person you're talking with just kind of hit on. And this is going to be important because we're going to want to write a thank you note after the interview. So if you don't have your interviewer's email, like if it wasn't shared with you beforehand, then at the end of the interview, make sure to ask them for it. And then within 24 hours after your interview, send the interviewer a thank you note that goes specifically over some of the stuff you talked about during your interview. So I just included a sample thank you note here. And like we said before, we're going to be recording this and sharing it out later, so you guys will be able to reference this. But just as an example, kind of start off just going over like thanking them, going over some specifics from our conversation. And then in the second paragraph, I kind of turn it back on me and try to gas myself up. And that's kind of just like a good format to use, because you're like appreciative. You're showing that you were really interested in the conversation, and you're also making yourself look good. And a thank you note is just in general. I know not places don't usually like require, but it's kind of like an unwritten rule that you should send one. And it's usually like a red flag if you don't, unless like they specifically tell you not to, which I haven't encountered. So I would say pretty much always send that thank you note if you can.
And then we have a slide on create your own co-op. So I haven't personally done this, but I know one of our mentors from last semester did, Sophia, and she's still on eBoard. So if you wanted, we could get you in touch with her to hash out the details of how she did that. But it is an opportunity. And I think I've heard of a lot of people having really great success reaching out to companies that they know they want to work for or are interested in that don't offer co-ops, and asking if they can work for them and create their own co-op. I don't know how often companies would pay for this kind of work. Like I know Northeastern has nicely set up a program where business students are very fortunate that they get paid pretty well. And I don't know if you're offering your service to a company and you really want to work for them, if they don't already have that structure, if how willing they would be to pay. But it is a really good opportunity if there's a company that doesn't offer a co-op that you want to work for. So I think these are a few resources that Sophia used, or Eric, maybe it was Erica that created this co-op, I forget, but she shares an email template of just emailing them, asking about their company and asking if they would be interested in a co-op. And it's an email template and a LinkedIn message. But also then I think she goes on to schedule time with them to talk about what the co-op program is, how she could be of service, and hear a little bit from them if they're interested. So pretty cool stuff there. But yeah, we also have a little promo. We're going to be hosting office hours. So we're going to try to do these like once a week in a certain time slot over like a few hours. And we'll send out a link, or we'll have a link on the link tree where you guys can sign up for times. And that's where me, Ada, and Nick are going to be to talk over it with you guys. If you have any questions, like specific questions, or want to go through literally anything, we're going to be hosting those, and those will be really helpful for co-ops, even if you want us to sit there with you and like look at different job opportunities and stuff like that. We can help and walk you through it. So yeah, those are coming up. And now we can start kind of a panel and do some questions and answers. So does anyone have any questions